It's like the best video ever.
This is crazy.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
And it's me, your girl, Janelle. Technical issues and all. Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday, hump day. We will eventually get a camel to go across the screen. Happy hump day, Winston. So many of you may be wondering, why is Winston in the chat? Why isn't he like in a square right next to Janelle? Well, I am super excited because we have one of our guest hosts with us again today. Today, it is again 2 brown queens in the building. I'm super excited. You guys remember we pitched Say That Channel together last weekend at the brunch pitch. If you weren't there, man, you missed a lot. We had an amazing time. We learned so much, and we can't wait to bring what we learned at the brunch pitch to actually put it on the platform to help all of you in our community. We're super, super excited about that. But nevertheless, I'm super excited to introduce you guys all to my guest co-host again. Once again, I am lucky to have the second of the 2 brown queens. Yes. Yes, there she is. Happy Wednesday, Brittany.
Happy Wednesday, Miss Janelle. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Super excited. I'm very excited because today we've got 3 queens in the building. But first, before I get too far, if you haven't seen the episode from last week, right? Isn't network marketing one of those pyramid things, right? You definitely want to check that out for anyone who's been interested in looking into a network marketing business model. And the episode before that, we had Alex and Ellen was back, and we were talking about businesses and why having a business coach is super important. So you definitely want to make sure you check out those episodes. Both of those were really, really informative. And so I highly recommend them. But today, it's all about today, guys. What is our question for today? Brittany, can you please give me a drum roll? Today's question is, why haven't you started your business yet? Why? You know this. Like, guys, we come on here all the time. We talk about entrepreneurship and that, like, the in-between, right? The ugly come up, what are the things that we should be talking about that people aren't talking about as new entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so we really wanted to take one step back because there's probably a few of you out there who really want to start a business and just haven't started it yet. And so the question is, why? Why haven't you? Why? Exactly.
Time is ticking, whether you like it or not.
So we are not going to be the only ones here answering your question. So we got 25 minutes on the clock, right? Here we go. We are going to start by introducing you to our guest today. We're super excited to have an amazing life coach. This young woman is just a super powerhouse in terms of positivity, getting your mind right, and I mean in all areas and aspects of your life. She is truly a blessing to anyone that she comes in contact with. Just really a positive, extremely just like forward thinking and really wants to like help other people. And so I'm really excited to have her on with us today. And I will introduce you to yes.
What's up, Kitty? Happy to have you on
Hello. Happy to be here. So excited. How are you two?
We are both doing well. Very, very well, especially now that you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up becoming a life coach, right? Like, what's your journey? What's your path? Tell us a little bit about how that all came about for you.
I've always been really interested in what makes people tick, like what makes them do what they do. And so I studied business in school, but I minored in psychology, and I was always way more excited for my psych class than my business classes. But they were both very fruitful, obviously. And I went to right out of school, I went to work at L'Oreal. I worked in product development and marketing for about 6 years. And while I was there, I worked with a therapist and I worked with a coach. This coach actually was also my mentor at L'Oreal, and she quit her job at L'Oreal to become a life coach. And so both therapy and coaching is incredibly powerful. But what I found while I was working with my coach is that every time we finished a session, I had an action plan that I could actually do. Like it felt doable and I felt like I was moving forward. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is what I want to help people do. I want to help people move past those mental blocks that they have and take the next step. So really it was thanks to my experience with this incredible coach that prompted me to become a life coach myself. So I literally went to the same school she did because I thought their approach was so powerful. And I've been doing that for about a year and a half now.
That's amazing. Hello, everybody. So sorry, just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's here. So Winston, Jeannie, and Shayla, hello. Thanks for joining us live. So that's amazing. It's amazing that you got to experience that and then also figured, wow, this is something that I really want to do and help other people. So putting your expert knowledge to the test, what happens when people come say to you man, I really want to start this business, right? And so the big question on everyone's mind is, okay, you want to start the business. Why haven't you started it yet?
Yeah. So a lot of times what happens, there's a few reasons why people haven't started their business. One big reason is fear, right? Obviously, the fear gets in the way. And a lot of times why that fear might be getting in the way is because you might be comparing yourself to someone's end, right? Like you're comparing yourself to someone's middle or their end, instead of maybe thinking about what did they go through when they were first starting out? When you are first, yeah, exactly. It's like you're comparing yourself to the end result and it feels so incredibly overwhelming and so far away and maybe impossible to get to that it just becomes easier to not do anything at all. I have found time and time again with my clients that one of the big reasons why they haven't started something is that they're comparing themselves to someone's end result.
Mm-hmm.
That's super powerful. Go ahead.
So what you just said just sparked a question I had for you very quickly. It was, we oftentimes are told, have the end in mind. You got to be able to see the end in mind. And so when you just said it's great to have the end in mind, but in that can also be debilitating because it's like, oh, I can see the end, but this is where I need to be. And I'm over here and here's my end and I'm not there yet. And so it's so interesting that you said that because I literally talked about this weekend. We called it, we coined it the ugly come up. The ugly part of what it means to, start your business, be an entrepreneur and have success, but we don't always talk about that, right? We just talk about start and the end. And so the fact that you said that just really, it struck a nerve for me. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that piece?
Absolutely. So, and that's such a great point. Actually, when I do work with my clients, a lot of the times I take them to, okay, what's happening a year from now? Like where do you envision yourself a year from now? You have the vision, you have where you're going. And then what needs to happen in the next, if you're a year from now, what needs to happen 6 months from now? Okay. What needs to happen 30 days from now? What needs to happen a week from now? What needs to happen today? So it's really helpful. It is helpful to think about your vision, think about where you're going, and then take steps back from there and ask yourself, what can I do today? And one exercise that I do with for myself and for my clients, you may have heard about it. It's called Aim Smart. And so this is a tool that you can use to actually set realistic goals for yourself. So the AIM, or the A in AIM, it's an acronym. It stands for acceptable. Here it's like, what is the minimum that you can do, right? Like, what is the minimum that you can do today to start your business? Maybe your minimum is to write down what you want your business to be. Maybe it's just to like journal about it. Maybe it's to start a new website, actually sign up for that website you've been wanting to sign up for. And then it's, what's the ideal? So that's the I in the AIM. What's the ideal? This is like, what's the maximum that you can do? Okay, maximum for starting my business is getting my website done, starting my LLC, opening my business checking account, whatever it is for you to start your own business. And then what's the middle, the M? That's like that realistic stretch where like it feels like a challenge, but it's still doable. It's like that exciting medium. That's where you want to go to, right? So you define that middle. What's the middle realistic stretch for me? And then you get really, really specific. So what's exactly the very first step that I need to take towards that middle realistic stretch? And then how do I measure success? What does success look like for this stretch goal? Is that first step possible to achieve? How achievable is it? That's the A. And then how reasonable is it that I'm actually going to do this? Because if it's not reasonable, then you can go back to the top. Maybe the goal needs to be a little bit smaller, something that you'll actually do. And then this one is so important. I think it's the most important. Time oriented. When am I going to take this first step? Write it down, add it to your calendar, do it, right? Like actually set a time for yourself, because then it becomes like all talking and ideas, and that's great. That is super powerful. But then it's like, okay, how am I going to do it? And then how am I going to hold myself accountable to do it?
Who do you find okay, so two things. I was thinking of two things. One is like, you know, people are going through these steps and like it seems like it may seem insurmountable, but now you've like broken it down to make it much more like doable, like piecemeal, right? One of my favorite quotes is like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So,
Exactly.
like literally break it down in that way. And so I'm thinking, number one, like, who do you suggest is like is the person to keep them accountable? Like, obviously you as a life coach, you could be the account buddy, as I like to call them. But like, if it's not you, like, who else would you suggest? And like, why is it important to have somebody keep you accountable to those things?
That's a great question. So yeah, definitely a coach to keep you accountable. Like that is part of why you hire them. That's part of their job, is to help hold you accountable. And someone else that can help hold you accountable, you know, I've had like accountability buddies, right? Where it's like, hey, I want to achieve this by next month. Is there anything that you're looking to achieve by next month? Can we hold each other accountable? And literally like set up time every week, maybe 10 minutes or 30 minutes every Monday morning, or, you know, whenever makes best for the two of you to meet and talk about, okay, where are you at with this? Last week you said you were going to do this. And then have them do the same. It's so important to have an accountability buddy, because starting a business or starting a new habit or starting, you know, moving towards a new goal is hard. It's just, it's a challenge. It's challenging. Like that's just the reality. Like it's just a difficult thing to do, and to do it on your own can make it that much harder, right? To have someone to be able to talk things through with can be so helpful. So it could just be, you know, a friend who's also looking to make a change.
Kitty, do you find yourself telling your clients that, or thinking about since you studied psychology in school, like their behavioral patterns and like the kind of like the cycle of which they do things, right? So their their perceived, you know, susceptibility, their cues to action, all of that type of thing. Do you take that into
Yeah.
consideration, and how do you share that?
That is, yeah, absolutely. That's like number one. So that like the aim smart that I shared with you, that's really something that we do at the end of our sessions. At the end of every session, kind of to like, okay, let's get narrowed down on what you're actually going to be doing and what the next steps are. But before that, it's all about thought work. And my job as a coach is to identify what limiting beliefs my clients might have. So, an example of a limiting belief might be like, well, I tried starting my business last year and it was a failure. So, why would I try doing it again? Like, it's not going to work. I've tried before. That's a limiting belief, right? Like, our thoughts aren't facts, they're not always truth. So
Mhm.
my job is to like identify those thoughts that I hear my clients having, or certain words like you said that they're repeating a lot, like um like I have to do this or I should do that. Even just changing those words to, instead of I have to, I want to do this. I want to have an accountability buddy because I want to start my business. It's not like I need to have my accountability buddy because I need to do this for my business. Like even like the tone in which they're saying it can totally shift their mind around something. Um so shifting those little words from I need to, I should to I want to.
Mhm.
That is so
Huge.
good.
I
No,
agree.
I love that. That's a huge nugget. And the reason why I say that is because like there's one of my mentors, he says like, stop like dreaming and saying like I should do this and I should do that. Otherwise you'll end up just shoulding all over yourself, right?
Mhm. It's so true.
And like how much that can, I feel like it creates a cycle, right? Because then if you're like, I should do this, I should do that, and then you haven't, so now you feel guilty, and then you're like, oh, I can't do this, and then it turns into a limiting belief. Like I can't do it because I said I should have done it, but I didn't do it, so I can't do it. So I can't. Then like it just keeps.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Um,
and that is huge what you said, Janelle, like, it turns into shame and blame,
Mm,
and shame and blame literally shuts down the learning centers in your brain.
mm,
mm,
It is not helpful, but it
mm,
is our go-to. This is why this, like, thought work is so important, to just, like, start becoming aware of your thoughts, because we all experience those negative thoughts, all of us, everyone, even the most successful people. But to identify them and to be able to reframe them, um, practice is huge, like practicing with a kind and curious mind
mm.
can help like rewire and reframe our thoughts. um it's definitely challenging. That's why working with a therapist or working with a coach can be so powerful, because it is it's a new way of thinking sometimes that we're not used to.
For sure. We can be our own worst critics, our own worst enemies. What you
Hmm.
say in your head, you know, not everyone hears it, but you're hearing it all the time, right? So to be very, very mindful of what you say, who you are, what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, all of those things, like they matter because they come out. You know what? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They come out in anything that you do. So that's yeah. I can't.
Brittany, that's exactly right. They come out because your thoughts, they trigger your feelings. Like your thoughts
mm,
make your feelings, and then your feelings trigger your actions.
Mm,
So if your thought is like, you know, I'm not going to be successful at my business, well, then you're going to feel like shit, and then you're not going to do anything about it. You're going to procrastinate. You're just going to sit and shame yourself about it. If
mm,
your thought, so it can help to have a thought that, not like, not something that you can't believe, not like so incredibly positive that you can't identify, but maybe your thought is like, this has been difficult, but I've done difficult things in the past, and I know I can do difficult things again. So why don't I try again? So then your feeling is like a little bit more hopeful. And then your action is, okay, what's like, you know, whatever your action is. Maybe your action is even to like call a friend and ask them, you know, how, have a conversation with them about it.
It's always good to have friends.
Net, call a friend.
So like for me, one of the things that you said that like really blew my mind is just the way in which you can change the language, right? So like we talked about like shoulding all over yourself, but like the other part of that is instead of saying like I should do this, it's like I want to do this, or I don't know if you said I want to, or if like I get to do this, right?
Both are great. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, what are some examples of like, I'd love to hear some examples of like things that you think people, especially when they're like about to start their business, that like would be good things to like turn around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So one thing is like there's already somebody doing that. That's a big one that I hear often. Like there's you know, even friends who I went to coaching school with, like there are already so many coaches. Like, why would I do it? Also, I'm not going to be successful. There's such a huge, you know, there's too many coaches. No one's going to hire me. And it's like, you have a different way of expressing your message. You have a different way of connecting with people that they'll want to work with you and maybe not with someone else, you know, like, or just the way that you bring something to everyone is unique. Everyone has their own way of doing things. So if your thought about your business is like, I don't want to do that, or like, I want to do that, but so many people are already doing it. Yeah, but they're not doing it the way that you would do it. That's a big one that I hear often, and that's stopping them. It's like that thought of like, it's already been done before. Why would I try again? You're going to give it a different spin, you know?
And they're not doing it with you. You know what I mean? Every experience is going to be different. You bring your uniqueness to it, your authenticity to it. It's kind of when we think about Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, they can all be on the same strip, but they're still up and running, and they sell the same thing.
Exactly.
So it's like
even this YouTube channel, you know, it's like you could have said like there's already people who are interviewing people. Okay, but you're not, you know, they're not you. They're not connecting with the people that you connect with. There's always something new that exactly what you said, Brittany. Like, yeah, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, they're all selling the same thing, but they're doing it in their own way and attracting different people for different reasons.
That is a really, really good. I can think of so many people who stop themselves from starting something just because of that. Well, somebody already thought about it. Like there's already somebody doing it. Or like they think they have a brand new idea and they're like, yeah, they're so excited. And then God forbid they hear that somebody else came up with the idea as well. And it's like, oh no, dream is gone. Can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Except for white council. Oh man, that's too funny.
Yeah, people do that all the time. They do it all the time. Oh man, it's already done. So okay, so one of the things I get to do this, right? So like I get to do it in a way that like nobody else has done before, right? Like I get to see what makes it what I can do to make it different, right? Like that kind of framing. This is so good. Like for me, honestly, it's the words we say. Like what we say to ourselves is just, it's so significant. Literally, to your point, I love how you talked about like thoughts literally turn into emotions. And like that's the clincher, right? And then it's the emotion that turns into the action. I feel like it's that little thing, right? Right.
Yeah. So yeah. And like, so that's a big one to just start becoming aware of. You know, I'm sure a lot, not that you're not aware of it already. I'm sure a lot of people are already aware of their thoughts, but I think when I learned that like my thoughts create my feelings and my feelings create my actions, I just felt like it gave me so much more power back to how I want to respond to things. Like ultimately it's my choice, how I want to show up, how I want to respond to something. And you know, your like life isn't coming at you, right? Like you're coming at life. Like how are your thoughts making your feelings, and those feelings triggering how you're showing up to places, how you're showing up for yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. It's what you don't know what other people think about you. And the other piece is how my dad told me this a very long time ago. He was like, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. So the fact that, you know, someone can call you whatever, but how you respond essentially is what really, really matters. So yeah, go ahead, call me whatever, but I answer to this. You know?
I love that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I
Say
was
it
like,
again. It's not what they call you.
I'll say it again. It's
what
not
you
what they call you. It's what you answer to.
Yeah,
right there.
that's amazing.
Man, if this is bringing you any value, please say something in the chat. If you have a specific question that you have for Kitty, you know, if you're out there and you're trying to start a business and like you just feel like there are certain things that are holding you back, things that like questions that you have, and maybe you're like, look, I'm done with the mindset. I like actually have like a thing beyond my mindset that's like keeping me from starting my business. I mean, we'd love to hear those responses too. So please make comments if you're watching this on the recording. Make comments as well. We check all the recordings and we respond to the comments there as well. Oh, awesome! Thank you, Lexi. Thank you. So okay. So in continuing with that, first of all, just to pause because you have just given us so much value already. And like, I'm thinking like, who wouldn't want to work with Kitty? I want to work with Kitty. So I just want to make sure people know where to find you, right? So this is where you can find Kitty on Instagram, and you can go to her website as well. I just posted that in the ticker so you guys can see it going across the bottom there.
And
please reach out to me.
Yes, reach out. I offer a complimentary session for everyone who's new because, you know, this is a relationship that requires trust, and for you to, you know, like me if you want to work with me. So how can you know if you like me if you don't work with me first? So just visit there. You can book a complimentary session, and whether we move forward or not working together, there's a lot that can come out of that one session that can help you move forward and bring value.
We have a question in the chat from Winston Janelle. What do you do when you have those same negative thoughts like your friends about whether what you're doing is making a difference?
What do you do when you have those same negative thoughts like your friends about whether what you're doing is making a difference? That's a great question. So these three questions that I often turn to myself, like almost every day. What's going well? Starting with that, what's going well? What's not going so well? But starting with what you can't skip the what's going well. Like you have to answer it, whether you want to or not. What's going well? What's not going so well? And what do I want to do differently? So that like removes shame, that removes blame. That's like, okay, you know, there are things that are going well. Maybe I have to think a little bit harder to identify them, but I get to identify them. And then what's not going well, what can I do differently? And that can work, you know, for asking about your life in general, or it can be like about a presentation you gave, what went well, what didn't go well, what will I do differently for the next presentation?
That's a big one. Those are the three questions that a consultant used to ask us on our team at my job, and that's how we debrief.
Those three questions?
Yeah.
They're super powerful questions.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for answering Winston's question. I think that ended up helping a lot of people who are listening right now and thinking, what can I, like, how can I change that? Like, am I really adding value? I love that. I love those 3 steps. Okay, so my last question, as our time has run out, is the very first thing you said, the reason why people don't start their business is because of a fear. Typically, it's usually in comparison of, right, somebody's final.
Mhm.
But I want to talk a little bit, I want to dig a little bit deeper about this fear and like
Yeah.
getting into the fear and facing that. And so
Definitely.
that is what we are going to talk about on Overtime.
Woo! Let's do it.
So if you are one
Awesome.
of our community members on Overtime, we actually have started a new platform. You'll be watching us live. So I put the Patreon link in the chat. So please log on to Patreon right now, become one of our community members, and you will get access to the link to watch our Overtime question live. Well, Kitty will dig into that fear question, right? And let's really get into that for a few minutes. So thank you again, Kitty. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
This has been absolutely amazing. Tons of value. We've got like a lot of people in the chat who are saying thank you so much. This has like been so valuable. Definitely the thank yous and a couple of fire emojis.
Thank you.
All of that. Again, guys, if you want to contact Kitty, there is her website. There is her Instagram. And for us, definitely follow us on Instagram as well. We're on Instagram. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you got a lot of value from this. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. Yep. Subscribe and the bell. If this was also valuable, shoot this video to any of your friends, put it on your social media as well. And we can't wait to see you guys next week. So that being said, Brittany, here we go. As always, remember you deserve the good life. Say that.